You're living in the past, man.
You see this? This is not your fault. Look at me, son. It's not your fault. I know.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault that today's movies are just crap. But it doesn't help when you have the biggest mainstream action star just crying over complete and utter nonsense.
I may have cried a tear or 2 or 10.
What kind of a man are you?
But in today's video, I am going to talk about a movie I'm pretty damn excited about, a new movie, and I think it's got the potential to be the martial arts movie of 2021. Now, that's a pretty bold statement, especially considering the fact I haven't seen it yet, but I am the guy that brought you why Jean-Claude Van Damme is the greatest on-screen fighter ever and why Steven Seagal is great, so I go bold here. And I'm about to make a video titled, The Greatest Action Movie Ever Made. And it's not a question mark, that's like a statement, just to give you guys a hint that was made in the 1980s. But anyway, I'm excited about a new movie coming out. And when it comes out on Blu-ray, I'm going to buy it. I want to own it. I'm going to put it on the bookcase right here. And speaking of owning things, I want to own it just like the guy in the movie is going to own these 400 guys trying to kill him. I think by the end of the movie, they're going to realize they picked the wrong fight. It'd be like if 400 guys picked a fight with Chuck Norris.
You can't win!
Talk about bringing a knife to a gunfight. Anyway, the movie's called Crazy Samurai Musashi, and the setup sounds amazing. But before we get into all that, make sure to hit the like button to help support the channel. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed so you can keep getting this kind of awesome content. And make sure to stay until the end of the video, by the way, because I'm going to talk about 2 more martial art movies coming out in 2021 that I think also have a lot of potential. So here's the synopsis for Crazy Samurai Musashi. In 1604, Miyamoto Musashi attacked the Yoshioka family at their dojo and defeated Master Seijiro and his younger brother Denshichiro in 2 duels. To save their reputation, the Yoshioka family decides to fight back with all 100 family members and hire an additional 300 samurai. Now Musashi sets out to defeat all 400 enemies in his most famous battle. That's a pretty badass setup. The main character, Miyamoto Musashi, by the way, is a real guy. He became renowned through stories of his unique double-bladed swordsmanship and undefeated record in his 61 duels, and authored the classic philosophical and strategic manual, The Book of 5 Rings, which is a manifesto on swordsmanship, strategy, and winning. In it, he says, "The only reason a warrior is alive is to fight, and the only reason a warrior fights is to win." Kinda sounds like Apollo Creed subscribes to that philosophy.
See, we're born with a killer instinct that you can't just turn off and on like some radio. We have to be right in the middle of the action because we're the warriors. And without some challenge, without some damn war to fight, then the warrior may as well be dead, stallion.
As far as Miyamoto Musashi in this film goes, the setup in 1604 is true, where he did defeat masters from the Yoshioka family. Seijiro Yoshiaki was challenged to a duel by Musashi. The 2 men fought with Bukitu, which is essentially a wooden katana. The winner would be declared by a single blow. They faced off, and in an instant, Musashi hit Seijiro's shoulder with his wooden sword, knocking him off his feet and breaking his left arm. Musashi won the duel. Tormented by dishonor, Yoshioka Seijiro retired from the warrior's life and became a monk.
What are you, a monk?
Seijiro's brother, Yoshioka Denshichiro, became the head of the Yoshioka family and challenged Musashi to regain his family's honor and avenge his brother's defeat. This time, it was a duel to the death. Seconds after the beginning of the duel, Musashi hit Denshichiro with his wooden sword, killing him instantly with a single blow to the head. The Yoshioka clan became desperate with the death of Denshichiro, who was now the second head of the family to be defeated by Musashi. At this point, the Yoshioka clan was ready to do anything to gain back their honor and reputation. This is where the film's fictionalized account comes into play, of having the remaining 100 Yoshioka family members and additional 300 samurai set out to defeat Musashi. Despite this fictionalized account of 400 versus 1, in real life, Musashi is still the Michael Jordan of samurais. At the age of 13, Musashi killed his first opponent, a samurai from a neighboring village. By the age of 20, he distinguished himself by fighting ferociously in several battles and walking out unscathed. He'd begin to wield 2 blades, which was unheard of at the time, during his 3rd encounter with the Yoshioka family, cutting through dozens of men in the process. Later, after quickly defeating his most fearsome opponent, Sasaki Kojiro, he became upset and swore off duels because he couldn't bear to rob the world of any more artists. So essentially, Musashi retired at the top because he was too good. Kinda like the UFC's own Khabib Nurmagomedov. But going back to the movie, this whole 1 versus 400 really harkens back to the idea of the one-man army, a common theme we all loved from the 80s and 90s action movies. One of the reasons why I think those movies were so popular is just the fantasy that guys can relate to. In your own life, feeling helpless in some way, experiencing or seeing some sort of injustice, just the idea of being powerful enough to be able to right the wrong in some way. Because at the very least, we could always latch onto our heroes like Rambo or Commando and live vicariously through them, with them, and win.
Sir, do we get to win this time?
This time it's up to you.
in a sense, symbolically restoring order, balance, and justice to the world. Now, as far as Musashi goes, this may sound odd, as some may think of him merely as a samurai wandering the land, killing other samurais. So how would this restore order, balance, and or justice to the world? Most sword masters were also Zen masters at the time. Zen in its essence is the art of seeing into the nature of one's own being, and it points the way from bondage to freedom. It incorporates meditation and is sometimes thought of as a religion or a philosophy. There are many inspirational and thought-provoking ideas and quotes that arose from Zen, such as, "Do not follow the ideas of others, but learn to listen to the voice within yourself."
Should I call Susan?
Now, what does the little man inside you say? So you gotta listen to the little man.
My little man doesn't know.
The little man knows all.
My little man's an idiot.
But as far as attaining Zen enlightenment through swordsmanship, transcending life and death, Zen master Gyatso Suzuki says, "The true swordsman has no desire to do harm to anybody, but the enemy appears and makes himself a victim. It is as though the sword performs automatically its function of justice, which is a function of mercy." Therefore, the sword does not necessarily kill people, but rather egoism, duality, and illusion. I'm not exactly sure how that explanation would hold up in a court of law, by the way.
Now, you kids don't go out and try that. You stay in school.
And it's not exactly an easy topic to grasp, so I'm not even going to go into it any further, at least not in this video. Now, aside from the 1 vs 400, the film's draw and the way they're marketing it is really emphasizing the 77-minute single-take action scene. It's just one continuous shot that doesn't include any editing. The entire film itself has a runtime of 92 minutes, so to say a lot is riding on this 77-minute sequence is an understatement. Just from a filmmaking, cinematography, technical perspective, that alone is quite an accomplishment, and it'll equally turn on as well as turn off an audience. If you've been watching this channel for any period of time, you'll know I'm a devout fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme. Absolutely love his fight scenes, and a big part of them is the editing. It's meant to noticeably stick out, and it works perfect with the way he likes to emphasize things. It adds that extra impact. With this Crazy Samurai movie, it'll be quite the opposite, and I think we need to go into it with the expectation that it's not going to look or feel like a typical movie, especially these days, post-MTV quick edit generation and ADD mindsets. One of the reviews, and there are plenty by the way, quite a few negative or average at best, but one of the reviews that someone posted on IMDb seems like it provided a pretty good idea of what to expect. So this guy, Giorgio Luciano, who gave it 9 stars out of 10, said, and I'll summarize, "Crazy Samurai Musashi is an experience, not a movie. If you rate it like a movie, you probably would find it just repetitive and not spectacular. After the first 10 minutes, you start being on the shoulder of Musashi, understanding that every stroke of the sword is a duel per se, and that the repetitive task of battling is life. That Musashi faced up with a grimace, ready to live or die, but at its own pace, with its own rules." A review from Nerdist.com, when referring to the actor Tak Sakaguchi, says, "It's very impressive watching Tak face all these guys. The man is visibly exhausted by the end, and yet he keeps fighting for way longer than you think he can." You know how I think the film would essentially be? I'm sure many of you guys seen the documentary Pumping Iron, which chronicled Arnold Schwarzenegger training and then competing and winning his 6th Mr. Olympia title in 1975. Because it essentially tells a whole story, that documentary would be like your typical film, whereas I feel like this Crazy Samurai movie would be more like Pumping Iron if that only covered the leg workout Arnold and Ed Corney had. Just imagine Pumping Iron as a 90-minute documentary shot in real time, no edits, covering their entire leg workout with nothing more. Which, I can see the appeal to watching something like that, being with them the whole time for every set, for every rep, and it come across as exhausting.
One whiting, and flex may come up.
Damn!
But more of an experience than a movie, or in the case of Pumping Iron, a documentary. As far as the main actor goes in Crazy Samurai, Tak Sakaguchi, he's been around for a while. His first film was in 2000, Versus, which he played the lead. Let me know if you guys seen that in the comments section, by the way, and what you thought. It's definitely a unique one. The director of Crazy Samurai, Yuji Shimomura, has directed 3 films total according to IMDb, though he's listed as an action director and or a stunt coordinator on several other films. But as far as the 3 films he's solely listed as a director on, they all star Tak Sakaguchi. 2005's Death Trance, 2016's Reborn, which somebody was telling me about months ago on this channel. I may finally have to check it out. And now the 2020 release in Japan of Crazy Samurai Musashi, which will be released in other territories this year in 2021. But here's something interesting. It's a new movie, but it's kind of not. It was actually filmed 9 years ago and finished 7 years ago, but has just sat on shelves collecting dust. This long dormant period brings to mind that Van Damme film he started shooting in 2008 and then shot more footage of in 2012, a film which still hasn't seen the light of day, at least as of early 2021. It had several different titles throughout the years, such as The Eagle Path, Soldiers, Full Love, and even Frenchie. I did an entire video on that with all the information I could find. I'll go ahead and link it in the description below if you're curious about the history behind it. But going back to Crazy Samurai, there's an article from Variety talking about its long gestation period. Shot 9 years ago, completed 7 years ago, the film sat on a shelf until independent distributor Albatross released it on 50 screens in August of 2020 in Japan. Obviously, it wouldn't have made that much money, as I'm pretty sure they had to limit theater occupancy. If anyone knows why Crazy Samurai was seemingly shelved forever, comment below, I'm curious. Critically, the reaction in Japan was mixed. I have pretty high hopes for this one though, as I mentioned earlier. I think it could be the martial arts movie of 2021. Aside from that film, I'm also pretty curious on the Mortal Kombat Reboot coming out in April of 2021. It has really good production values. It's from a first-time film director though, Simon McQuoid, who's previously worked on commercials. It's the first live-action Mortal Kombat film with an R rating. 1995's Mortal Kombat and 1997's follow-up Mortal Kombat Annihilation were both PG-13. Because of the R rating, I'm kind of curious how graphic the fatalities are going to be. According to Louis Tan, who plays Cole Young, an original character created for the film who's sort of a washed-up MMA fighter, he said the fatalities are actually quite gruesome, and on some days on set he felt sick. I remember years ago Van Damme's daughter Bianca was getting ready for a screen test to play Melina. Preparation for that was shown in the 2011 Van Damme reality show Behind Closed Doors. It's hard to say if she was actually auditioning for the film, which was originally going to be part 3 before the studio decided on the reboot, or if she was going out for the role of Melina on the web series Mortal Kombat Legacy. Season 2 from 2013 did have the character Melina in it, who was played by Michelle Lee. This Mortal Kombat Reboot movie has the role of Melina played by CC Stringer, so kind of a bummer that Van Damme's daughter is not in it. Another martial arts movie coming out this year that I'm pretty excited about is Jean-Claude Van Damme's own The Last Mercenary. This is not biased excitement, by the way. A lot of the newer Van Damme films just have not excited me, and after watching them, my intuition was correct. I did love 2018's The Bouncer, though, called Lucas in some territories, but The Last Mercenary is a Netflix movie and is listed as an action comedy. The synopsis: a mysterious former Secret Service agent must urgently return to France when his estranged son is falsely accused of arms and drug trafficking by the government, following a blunder by an overzealous bureaucrat and a mafia operation. It's got a French director. I'd say over the last 20 years, his two best films were also by French directors. 2008's JCVD, and then, like I mentioned, 2018's The Bouncer. So maybe a coincidence, but it seems like teaming Van Damme up with a French director is a winning combination. So let's see if he can pull off a three-peat. Anyway, let me know in the comments below which martial arts movie or movies you're most looking forward to in 2021.